just going to install the M2 Pro Mobridge device to enable Bluetooth audio streaming in the car, which already has a Mercedes phone connector of Bluetooth, but you can't play music through the W211 E-Class with the command NTG1. So the unit has got a number of wires in it. I think that's a bypass switch that you can turn it off. A microphone, which I'm going to figure out if you can just use the current one that's in there. Fibre optic cable. Unit itself. I think that's all the iPod connectivity cabling, and then a bypass. It's also got some very basic instructions, which are not really adequate for installing purposes for each model. And so that's the purpose of the video, is to help sort that out. So this is the unit with what looks like the fibre optic attachment in there. On the other side is the microphone. You've got to set all these switches for your region. So just attaching all the cables preliminarily to have a look here. So at the back we have the USB and auxiliary extension cables, which will probably run into the center console unit. And on the other side is the microphone, the fibre optic or MOST connection, and then the bypass switch, which I'm not quite sure the purpose of at this point. So the 211 that we have, which is a 2007 update model, came with a phone unit from the factory, so that fits in the cradle. You pair your phone to it, and you can see connected in the bottom right. Phone's connected, and you do have phone control via the units on the dash. There we go. And you can hang the unit up and so forth. You also have control through the unit. And, you know, you have things like the with this unit that is frustrating now in this current day is that you don't have Bluetooth audio streaming, so you can't get stuff off your phone or whatever you want. This one wasn't iPod enabled. When you have the audio button, you have your radio, your CD changer, and your CD slot, and then your CD changer. There is an auxiliary which isn't utilised, and so the Mobridge unit's going to bypass the CD changer and utilise that slot. So I need to get all the discs out to start with, because they'll never come out again once I take the power out of the unit. So we're just ejecting all the discs here. So it's a bit intimidating, but you just got to pull that unit up at the front. There's just clips holding it on. That's going to enable you to get the ashtray out, then the CD changer, and then the unit itself. So the ashtray just lifts up, but there are a couple of tabs here on the side. You can just put the screwdriver under and lift them out gently. Then that helps get that out. It does have a cable at the back. And now you're looking at see the two Torx screws at the back here. Which we're going to get out. A few cables here at the bottom of the changer, which I'm just going to disconnect to enable me to get it out. There's the first one, which I think is the that's the fibre optic there. They're now disconnected from the changer, and I'm hoping that enables it to come out now. There we go. So now the CD changer's out. There's a couple of Torx screws up there holding in the main unit, which we've got to get out. The unit's undone now, and there we go, it's coming out. There we go, we've got the wires at the back we've got to disconnect. Started off by bringing the Mobridge auxiliary unit in the center console. Hidden under here is the USB and the auxiliary. I looked at the glove box, but there's not much room in there. The thing's quite deep, and so you had to actually drill out some of the foam underneath the plastic base, but it seems to go in with a USB fitting in there. And so I'll keep the other unit in there. There's not enough depth to put it in there, particularly if you want to mount a USB sticking out of the thing. So I spliced power off the main deck, or the command unit there, and interestingly they had only actually taped it up from the factory. I know that's my tape there now, but they had actually only taped it up, so you can undo that and then solder onto there. And that's from the multi-unit cable that goes into the Mobridge unit. The blue wire doesn't get plugged into anything. The white one's the kill switch, so to speak, which we put in the center console. And then the black wire I earthed just down here in front of the airbag sensor unit. So there's different settings for different geography of the Mobridge unit, and I've been told that in Australia the unit is set to the European setting. So I'm going to go with the second one here for my 2007 unit and flick all these switches up to the various position. Spending a lot of time looking for the MOST UHI unit. It's actually not anywhere near the gateway in the rear passenger side. It's actually between the two bench seats. It's located, you have to fold down your front seats, you have to undo the little securing lock, you know, one of your little tabs over that with the Torx screw, and then you pop it up at the front of the car, you lift it up, click it up there, and then slide the unit forward, and that'll come off to reveal the unit. So now we need to disconnect the cable, I'm told, and then we also need to loop out the fibre optic. So I'm just going to actually disconnect that now. There we go, it's out of the loop. Then we've got the connector here, which is going to get plugged in like so, I believe. Clips on, and then disconnect the power as well. That out, you just push the little tab and then slide that thing forward. Out it comes, and then that's disconnected, no more phone module. So I've decided to try and run the light out of the rear view mirror where the sort of factory thing is, but not quite. I'm just going to have a sit it above the rear view mirror. The trouble I have with this area up here with the factory one is that there's not much space in the actual grille itself, frustratingly. You can see here there's actually any room for that mic. I don't want to pull any of the factory stuff out, so I'm not going to tinker with that and pull it all apart. Getting this unit off, I've just dropped this down after taking a few of the plastic bits off. You can find things on the web, on YouTube, how to take that off, which is not rocket science, but you want to be careful of that little rain sensor thread, supposedly, because that's easily torn. From here, it's running along the roof line, up here, up here, up here, down there. I've not taken that off. There is airbags behind there or some sort of apparatus, which I don't want to find out about. Run it down the side there, and then underneath you just take the panel off and you can feed it through the side. And not quite Mercedes-like, but I think that'll do the job and looks reasonably conspicuous. The Mobridge behind here, there's no room to tuck it in safely on the side because of the cable width and the size of the unit. This is the last thing I've got to do, having fed the microphone now. I had planned to put that the Mobridge unit behind the deck. It simply doesn't fit no matter how you switch it around, so I've got to pop it down here. Now the thing I'll just point out, when you're popping this in, you need to have enough slack with the fibre optic cables down here, which is this plastic cover, which is going to go up, goes into the aircon vent. That darn vent bangs straight into this thing if you don't have enough cable, so I've actually got to undo it all again whenever I get the inspiration to get another few inches out of the cabling to get it out of the way. Point out that the fibre optic cables that actually go into it are not that extension cord that's included in the pack. I'm not sure what scenario you use that for. The fibre optics that go into it are actually those fibre optics that would normally go from the head unit into the CD changer, and that's what plugs into that unit. So the fibre optic cable for the CD changer, which actually plugs into the Mobridge, actually needs to be tucked under this aircon conduit there. So it's a bit of a task, but luckily when you do that, just under here, you get a lot more length, and that should easily enable me to put this thing up finally. Feed it down there underneath that vent, and there's plenty of length in it for you. And so here we are in radio. Now we've blocked out the CD changer and turned it into the phone unit. So we've got the phone here. We've gone over to the Bluetooth. Just get this one working. And there we are, that's streaming off the phone. Now controlling this is a little bit of a nuisance. Unless you've got playlists, which we're not that organised to do, you're going to be using the phone and just going through them whatever you want. I mean, the albums will play through. The actual unit controls aren't that great. Here you are now, you've got a unit and it's not actually left and right anymore. This sort of scrolls through quite a funny way. No, I don't want to pause it. I want to go to the next one. Then it goes to the next track. So it's a pretty clunky system in that respect. It will play through, but I'm yet to get that clarified, the best way to utilise that. So hopefully you like your whole album, or you just got your playlist and you're just strolling through, or you've got a passenger that can utilise your phone. So there you go, it's displayed up on the deck. You do have controls here, but again the up and down arrows do this silly changing. Now I don't know whether they'll do a software upgrade for that. Hopefully they will, because it makes your command unit pretty average to actually change tracks. You do have the auxiliary stuff in here. You can plug a USB stick or an auxiliary 3.5 jack or whatever it is in there. Again, I chose that because if you have the USB coming perpendicularly out, it will not fit in the section up the top, which might be a logical spot to pop it in there, but you can't, it won't fit, because underneath that unit here, the length is, it's a couple of inches or so, so you actually need to drill out the plastic base of that, which will flick out when you install this. And I don't think there's anything you're going to run into. You just got to push the cables out of the way to utilize that. You basically need to do the left and right up here. So you go to your auxiliary input there. There's nothing connected now, so I still have use of the controls here. So, you can either use the phone by dialing in numbers straight off your handpiece. Alternatively, you can use the keypad. If you want to use your, it will update automatically the address book. You've got things here, but you can, much like the old phone systems, B, C, so forth. And it's not bad in that respect. Overall, I'm happy with the unit. It's a lot of work. That took, I've tinkered with a few stereos before, not using anything with these fibre optics before. I'm just a novice, and it did take me a weekend of work to get this done. There's a lot of trial and error. I'm not overly happy with the control of the Bluetooth streaming, which is my sole purpose, but it does enable you to do it. And as we all know now, with these integrated systems, once the car's a few years old, your system is basically defunct, and if you try and change it over, it generally looks pretty shabby and cheap. So I do like being able to actually utilize your phone for this purpose. I hope they update the software so you can actually use the controls better. Otherwise, you're going to be tinkering with your unit a lot of the time, or spending a bit of time putting together a proper playlist. And I've got to say also, the support for this unit is really weak. The install instructions are horrendous. They provide no assistance at all. Now, I understand it's designed to fit a number of cars, but when you're sitting here lying on your back trying to figure out what's going on with these cables, it's a bit frustrating.